Hello YouTube and welcome back. Thank you so much for dropping by and watching this. For this video I'm going to do a bit of a compare and contrast between Kato's two different flavors of Metra N-scale passenger cars, passenger coaches, whichever way you choose to term them. Over on the right here, this is the model representing the Nippon Sharyo rolling stock. This is one of the cab coaches. You can see that by the driver's window there. I'm sorry, the engineer's window here, horn there. And then I'll show you the front in a moment. But also, because this is a newer style, these cars were primarily built, I believe, from the very late 90s through about 2010, as Metra was trying to replace the older Pullman styles, which I'll show you in a moment, with newer, more modern rolling stock. And this was one of the ones that came about. And Nippon Sharyo was trying to build a lot of these for other commuter railroads as well. However, unfortunately, that did not quite pan out as well as they hoped. And their U.S. production facility that used to be in Rochelle, Illinois, has now long since closed up, which again, very unfortunate. But that's a different topic entirely. So this is the Nippon Sharyo, as you would see it from the left side, depending on which way the train is moving. And here, this is the old style, quote unquote, Pullman cab coach in Metra scheme. Right away you can tell the difference because this has a completely different color scheme, much different roof pattern. The horn is on the this side as opposed to the opposite, and the doors are a bit different, the windows are different, and you pull back here real quick. While this has more windows, they're also very much taller. The difference here is these windows obviously are a bit wider, but also not nearly as tall. And from personal experience, having ridden Metra trains in both of these coaches, from my experience, riding in the Nippon Sharyo coach was a much superior experience. Again, because it was newer, there was more natural light coming through, even though they had the green tinted windows to filter the light, so it was more of a comfortable ride into or out of Chicago. I did have the opportunity to ride on several Pullman coaches that went into the shop and got rebuilt with more modern interiors, upgraded lighting, in order so that the experience in these coaches would match the experience in the Nippon Sharyo coaches. I don't know if Metra did the rebuilds or if Nippon Sharyo did the rebuilds, but anyways, slice it, after a lot of these got rebuilt and upgraded, the experience on these in so many ways was just as good as on these, with one exception. On this side of the coach, you see this wall right here, there's no windows. That actually is the lavatory compartment on the Nippon Sharyo coach. And the lavatory compartment in these coaches was built from the ground up to be handicapped accessible, which is why there are fewer windows on this side of all Nippon Sharyo coaches, because these were built in a post-Americans with Disabilities Act world, so they had to accommodate wheelchairs and folks who needed mobility assistance in order to give them proper room to access the facility and the ability to maneuver in the tight space while the train was underway. Now, some of these Pullman coaches also had a lavatory compartment along one of these two sides, but honestly I don't recall for sure if this was a routine feature of the Pullman coach or if it was only for a select few. Again, I really don't know. I haven't ridden on one of these trains in a long time, but I do recall that on the Pullman style coach, if it did have a lavatory, it was a much smaller compartment that was much less easy to work with because it was built in a time that predated the Americans with Disabilities Act, and so therefore it did not have nearly the same form, fit, and features as the more modern Nippon Sharyo cab coaches and just coaches in general featured. So that's a major difference, and props to Kato, of course, for modeling that spacing accurately. But since these are the cab coaches, I'll show you first. This is the front of the Nippon Sharyo, and let me get my finger out of the way here. Kato did a fantastic job recreating the this is the top sweep light, the headlight, and then the two ditch lights. And when the cab coach is operating in forward, and the engine, or the train, I'm sorry, was at speed, the ditch lights will alternate flash, or flash alternatively in a pattern. And then the sweep light was a rotating sweep light that you would see coming, you know, whichever way the train was facing, no question about it. Now on the Pullman cab coach, now I honestly don't know for sure if the Pullman cab coaches have been retrofitted to incorporate ditch lights down here, but when these cab coaches were the go-to for Metra before the Nippon Sharyos came along, I'm assuming they only had the one upper headlight, and the rear-facing red marker lights that you can see in this little housing right here were not moved into the center of the body as they were on the Nippon Sharyo. You see the red marker light right there. This only has one headlight again, no ditch lights, at least in terms of its original configuration, because this model of Pullman coach was also designed by Kato to feature in their Chicago Northwestern 400 train, which has, I believe, E8 locomotives and primarily ran from Chicago to Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but that set is also available from Kato in the Chicago Northwestern scheme. So I believe in order to maintain the accuracy between that model and ensure commonality, Kato elected just to go with the single headlight only and the offside mounted red marker lights for when the cab coach is traveling at the end of the train. And then I will show you in a moment how this looks when these are switched into reverse, but I'll do that for you now. And we'll just, hit the wrong track. Let's try it again. So, when this is in reverse, you see here, this little red light will come on and the headlight will kick off. A really nice feature for Kato to go to the all the work to model for us enthusiasts, and it really does set these locomotives off. I do wish these were a little bit brighter, but at the same time, Kato has to work to make all this stuff fit into N scale, and I'm just glad it's there and it works well enough. Here is the difference, however. This poor coach has been running a while, so it doesn't want to be conductive, unfortunately, because I haven't had this particular cab coach out in at least a year, maybe closer to 2 or 3 years. So it needs some time on the track to really get itself some work. Anyway, you'll see very clearly here are the red marker lights on the end of the Nippon Sharyo cab coach. You'll also note there's a difference in style of the snowplow between the Nippon Sharyo and then also, the Pullman. Really well modeled features, and then also the the Pullman has ladders to either side of the pass-through door, while the Nippon Sharyo cab coach does not. So, overall, I like both of these coach styles. These are really excellent models, really high quality units produced by Kato. I was surprised to note that the Nippon Sharyo model had a different tint of green in the window covers versus the Pullman. But what I don't know is if this lighting kit is a bit older and therefore has a different color temperature of LED. That is a very strong possibility. Whereas this, I believe, is a much newer lighting kit with a better, stronger, brighter LED. It could also be that the tint has changed between when the Nippon Sharyo models were made and when the Pullmans were made. I really have no idea, but just as they are when it comes to these two coaches, I honestly am quite enamored with the Pullmans, just because, well, even though I've ridden on both of them, I just think that these coaches run so well with the Kato Metra F40PH in the new scheme. There's a really nice synergy between the paint scheme on this coach and the locomotive itself. Now these coaches are also, they run wonderfully and they look amazing on the rails. But, well, there's my thumb in the way. Switching over back here to forward, one feature I am not excited about, at least in the editions that I own, is that the Pullman has the newer, brighter LED, while the Nippon Sharyo has an older style, more of a yellow tint LED to simulate more of a direct incandescent. Me personally, I strongly prefer the brighter white of this LED, but I'm not going to complain too much because, again, these are both still wonderful models in N scale. And if you are someone who is a passenger rail enthusiast in N scale, these are great additions to your collection. Kato is still making the Nippon Sharyo as well as the Pullman models. The Nippon Sharyos can be acquired, I believe, individually, but they're also most commonly sold in a 3-car bookcase set, and I have 2 of those, which is wonderful. So if I really wanted to have a big monster 11-car Metra train, I could do so. And I have ridden on some of those back in the day when I was riding on commuter rail during morning and or evening rush. So these are the Metra N-scale models, and they are wonderful to have, and I'm glad I have them. You can also get this style of coach, I believe, in the Virginia Metro Rail. I forget the name of the railroad itself, but this coach was also built for a Virginia commuter rail service and is available in that road scheme and paint scheme as well. I do not know if this coach is offered in another scheme or if it's strictly the Chicago Northwestern in that bookcase set, or more traditional Kato packaging set, or if it's whether it's just Metra and then the CNW set, or if there's also other railroads that ordered these Pullmans that Kato is also in the process of modeling. So that is the Metra rolling stock. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time around. Take care.